The massive display screen in the Galactic Entertainment District flickered with scenes from the latest Earth movie. Hundreds of aliens sat in the reviewing chamber, their expressions ranging from boredom to barely hidden disgust. The film showed a young human helping an elderly woman cross a busy street, then cutting to the human visiting his mother in a hospital. Soft music played in the background as tears rolled down the character's face. Director Vale stood up abruptly, their silver skin reflecting the screen's light. "Enough of this nonsense," they said, waving a long-fingered hand. The screen went dark. "I fail to understand how humans can call this entertainment. Where is the technical excellence, the philosophical depth, the mathematical precision?" The other members of the Stellar Arts Academy nodded in agreement. They had gathered for their monthly review of Earth cinema, a tradition that had started shortly after humans joined the Galactic Union 3 years ago. What began as cultural research had turned into a regular source of amusement for the galaxy's elite entertainment critics. "Did you notice their primitive attempt at emotional manipulation?" asked Professor Bright, their eye stalks wobbling with laughter. "They actually believe that showing water leaking from their visual organs can make others feel something." The chamber filled with various sounds of alien amusement, clicking mandibles, vibrating antennae, and pulsing light patterns. Director Vale raised their hands for silence. "Let us be scientific about this," Vale said, walking to the center of the chamber. Their perfectly measured steps matched the standard rhythm of proper galactic movement. Earth has been producing these so-called films for less than 200 years. Compare this to our 10,000 years of entertainment evolution. Vale pressed a button on their wrist device, projecting a series of images. "Our entertainment focuses on pure art, the perfect arrangement of color and sound, the precise calculation of geometric patterns, the harmony of mathematical equations expressed through motion. We have moved beyond the need for..." Vale paused, searching for the right word. "Stories." In the back of the chamber, a young alien named Blue watched quietly. Unlike the others, they had spent the last 6 months secretly watching human films in their private pod. Blue had even installed a banned emotion translation program to better understand human expressions. But speaking up now would mean the end of their promising career in galactic entertainment. "The humans call this particular genre a tearjerker," Vale continued, pronouncing the English word with obvious distaste. "They deliberately create scenarios designed to trigger their primitive emotional responses. And the most bizarre part, they consider this a mark of quality entertainment." The chamber's atmosphere control system adjusted to the increasing heat generated by the animated discussion. Critics from 50 different species began sharing their own experiences of watching human films. They spent 30 minutes showing 2 humans pressing their food holes together. Their action sequences completely ignore the laws of physics, and they expect us to believe in these imaginary concepts like love at first sight. Director Vale let the commentary continue for exactly 5 minutes before calling for order. "As the leading entertainment authority in 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, we have a responsibility. Earth's recent admission to the Galactic Union means their entertainment will spread. We must protect our cultural standards." The director activated their official recording device. "Let the record show that on this day, the Stellar Arts Academy officially classifies Earth cinema as Category 4 entertainment, technically primitive, and culturally insignificant. Their films will be restricted to human sectors, with appropriate warnings about their emotional content." Blue watched the proceedings with growing concern. None of these critics understood what they were watching. They didn't see how humans used their stories to share experiences, to teach empathy, to connect with others. But Blue remained silent, even as Vale announced plans for next month's review of something humans called Disney Classics. The meeting ended with the critics congratulating themselves on protecting galactic culture. As they filed out of the chamber, Blue lingered behind, waiting until everyone had left. In the empty room, they pulled out a small device and quietly downloaded the human film they had just watched. Sometimes, late at night, when no one was around to judge, Blue would let themselves feel what the humans called emotions. And sometimes, Though they would never admit it, they even cried. Tom Reed stood in the back of the crowded hall at the Interstellar Arts Festival, watching his film being torn apart by alien critics. He had spent 2 years making The Last Lighthouse, a story about Earth's final lighthouse keeper and his faithful robot companion. Now, director Vale was using it as an example of everything wrong with human cinema. Notice the obvious attempts to manipulate feelings through music, Vale said, pointing to the screen, as if adding specific sound frequencies could make a story more meaningful. The alien audience clicked and hummed in agreement. Tom's hands formed fists at his sides. He wasn't a big-shot Hollywood director or a famous producer, just a guy from a small town in Maine who loved making movies. But watching these aliens mock not just his film, but everything human cinema stood for, made something snap inside him. "You're wrong," Tom said, his voice carrying across the hall. The universal translators buzzed as they converted his words into 50 different alien languages. The crowd parted. Director Vale turned all 4 eyes toward him, their silver skin shimmering under the hall's lights. "Ah, the filmmaker himself. Please, explain how we're wrong about your entertainment." Tom walked forward, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. "You talk about technical excellence and mathematical precision, but you've missed the whole point of storytelling. It's not about perfection. It's about connection." A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd. In the third row, Blue watched with wide eyes, their heart lights blinking rapidly with excitement. "Connection." Vale's voice dripped with amusement. "You mean your primitive emotional responses? Your species still thinks crying at moving pictures is somehow valuable." Tom climbed onto the stage, standing face to face with Vale. "I'll prove it to you. I'll make a movie that will make even you cry." The hall erupted in alien laughter, whistles, clicks, and rumbling sounds that made the floor vibrate. Vale raised their hands for silence, a cruel smile playing across their features. A bold claim, human. "But I'm feeling generous today." Vale pressed a button on their wrist device, bringing up a holographic contract. "I will personally fund your project. 1 million credits, 6 months to complete it. If you succeed in making me cry, you'll get another 1,000,000 credits and a formal apology from the Stellar Arts Academy." Tom read the contract carefully. "And if I fail? Then you'll publicly admit that human cinema is worthless, and you'll never make another film again." Vale's eyes glittered. "Do we have a deal?" The whole hall went quiet. Blue held their breath, their heart lights almost white with tension. Other aliens leaned forward, recording everything on their devices. This would be all over the galactic entertainment news within hours. Tom thought about every movie that had ever moved him to tears. He thought about his grandmother taking him to see his first film when he was 6. He thought about all the nights he'd spent editing in his tiny apartment, trying to capture the perfect moment that would touch someone's heart. "Deal," he said, pressing his thumb to the contract. The hologram flashed green, making it official. Vale's smile widened. 6 months, human. Though I doubt you'll need that long to fail." As the crowd began to disperse, Blue rushed forward, nearly tripping over their own feet. "Mr. Reed, I believe you can do it." Tom looked at the young alien in surprise. This was the first time any of them had called him Mr. "Thanks," he said, managing a smile. "But believing isn't enough. I need to figure out how to make aliens feel something they don't even think exists." Blue's heart lights pulsed with different colors. Maybe I can help. I know both worlds, yours and theirs." Tom studied the eager young alien. "You know what? I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship." Neither of them noticed Director Vale watching from the shadows, already planning ways to ensure this human film would never succeed. Tom's small apartment had turned into an unusual film production office. Star charts covered the walls, alien emotion diagrams cluttered his desk, and Blue sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by old Earth movies. "This one made me feel something strange," Blue said, pointing to an old movie playing on the screen. When the robot sacrificed itself to save the humans, my heart lights wouldn't stop flickering. Tom looked up from his writing desk. That's called sadness, Blue. And maybe a little bit of hope, too. He walked over and sat down next to his alien friend. That's exactly what we need to create. They had spent 2 months watching everything from Charlie Chaplin to modern blockbusters. Blue had installed special translation software to help them understand human facial expressions. Tom had learned to read Blue's heartlights and what each color meant. I think I know what our story should be about, Tom said, pulling up his notes. A deep space probe, launched from Earth centuries ago, gains consciousness during its lonely journey through the stars. Blue's heartlights pulsed yellow with excitement. Yes, and it tries to make friends with other space objects it meets. Exactly, but because it wasn't built for friendship, each connection it makes is temporary. Tom started sketching on his tablet. We'll call it Echo Among the Stars. Their planning session was interrupted by a call. Director Vale's hologram appeared in the room, wearing their usual smug expression. 3 months left, human. I hope you're not wasting my credits on watching old films. The project is on track, Tom replied calmly. Would you like to see our progress? No need. I'm just calling to remind you that failure is inevitable. Vale noticed Blue in the background. Ah, young Blue. I'm disappointed to see you involved in this. Waste of time. Blue's heartlights flickered with anger, but they stayed quiet. After Vale's hologram disappeared, Tom put a hand on Blue's shoulder. Don't worry about them. We have work to do. Over the next few weeks, their small team grew. A group of outcast alien artists joined them, each bringing unique perspectives. Rock, a silicon-based being, created stunning space backgrounds. Mist, a gaseous entity, developed a new way to show emotions through color and movement. But their biggest breakthrough came from an unexpected source. While watching Tom wipe away tears during an old movie, Blue made a discovery. Tom, what if we could translate human tears into something aliens can understand? Blue's heartlights blazed with inspiration. Each species has their own way of showing emotion. We just need to show it in their language. Tom sat up straight, like an emotional translator. Better. An empathy overlay. Blue started drawing diagrams. When humans cry in the film, silicon beings like rock will see crystalline patterns. Gaseous beings like mist will sense pressure changes. Everyone will experience the emotion in their own way. The team worked day and night. They combined alien technology with human storytelling techniques. The probe in their story, which they named Pioneer, took shape as a character who could speak to all species. With 1 month left, they had their first test screening. A small group of alien artists watched a rough cut of the first 10 minutes. The room was silent except for the sound of various beings experiencing emotions in their own unique ways. Afterward, a crystalline artist approached Tom. I felt something when Pioneer said goodbye to Earth, something I've never felt before. Tom smiled. That's called loneliness. And trust me, every being in the galaxy knows how it feels, even if they show it differently. As their test audience left, Blue's heartlights glowed a soft blue. We might actually do this, Tom. We will, Tom said, watching the stars through his window. Because for the first time in galactic history, we're not just making a film. We're building a bridge between hearts. In the darkness of space above them, Director Vale's private investigators were already working to find a way to stop them before they could finish. With just 3 weeks left until their deadline, Tom's team faced their biggest crisis. The empathy overlay system kept crashing during the film's most emotional scenes. Blue stood in the testing room, surrounded by smoking equipment, their heartlights pulsing red with frustration. It's not working. Blue kicked a broken translator unit across the floor. The system can't handle the emotional complexity. It's too much. Tom watched through the observation window, dark circles under his eyes from countless sleepless nights. Rock, their silicon-based visual effects artist, placed a crystalline hand on his shoulder. Perhaps, Rock's voice chimed like tinkling bells. We are thinking about this wrong. We keep trying to translate human emotions directly. Mist floated nearby, their gaseous forms swirling with thought patterns. What if instead of translating the emotions, we help aliens find their own? Tom turned to them. What do you mean? Before Mist could answer, the door burst open. Two official-looking aliens in Union security uniforms entered, followed by Director Vale's smug hologram. I'm afraid I have to shut this down, Vale announced. Our investigation has revealed you're using unlicensed emotion translation technology. That's a violation of your contract. Blue's heart lights turned pale with fear. Tom stepped forward, placing himself between the officers and his equipment. Wait, he said. Just give us one chance to show you what we're working on. Please. Vale's hologram flickered with amusement. You have 5 minutes. Tom nodded to his team. They quickly set up their latest test footage. The scene where Pioneer, their deep space probe, encounters a dying star. As they watched, the empathy overlay activated. For silicon beings like Rock, the star's death appeared as fractal patterns of breaking crystal. For gaseous entities like Mist, it manifested as waves of pressure changes that matched their natural emotional responses. Each species saw the scene in a way that spoke to their own experiences of loss and change. The security officers stood transfixed. One of them, a crystalline being, started resonating at a frequency that Tom had learned meant deep emotional engagement. Turn it off, Vale commanded sharply, but their hologram's eyes had widened slightly. Blue suddenly jumped up. That's it. Tom, remember what you told me about the first movies. No sound, no color, but people still felt everything. Tom's tired eyes lit up with understanding. We don't need to translate the emotions perfectly. We just need to create the right conditions for each species to feel their own feelings. The team worked frantically over the next 2 weeks, rebuilding their system from scratch. Instead of trying to directly translate human tears into alien emotions, they created what they called emotional resonance chambers, spaces where each species could experience the story in their own natural way. The security officers, moved by what they'd seen, quietly dropped the investigation. Vale's attempts to stop the project had backfired. News of the innovative technology spread through the entertainment district, creating unprecedented buzz for the upcoming premiere. The night before the deadline, Tom sat alone in the editing room, watching the final cut. Pioneer's journey through space had become more than just a story. Each encounter, each connection, each goodbye was now a bridge between different ways of feeling. Blue found him there, their heart lights glowing softly. What you said before about the first movies, it made me realize something. Emotions aren't just human things that need to be translated. They're universal experiences that need to be awakened. Tom smiled. Exactly. We're not teaching aliens to feel like humans. We're reminding everyone that they already know how to feel. The next morning, as they prepared for the premiere, a message arrived from Director Vale. I look forward to your failure, human. Remember our deal. Tom read the message and looked at his team. Blue with their colored heart lights, Rock with their crystalline form, Mist with their swirling patterns, and all the others who had joined their impossible project. Let's go remind the galaxy how to cry, he said. The Grand Stellar Theater sparkled like a diamond under the light of 3 moons. Aliens of all species filled the massive auditorium. Critics, artists, and curious onlookers who had heard rumors about the strange human film. Director Vale sat in the front row, their silver skin reflecting the soft lights, looking ready to witness a spectacular failure. Tom stood backstage, adjusting the emotional resonance chambers one last time. His hands shook slightly as he worked. Blue approached, their heart lights pulsing gentle patterns of encouragement. The projectors are ready, Blue said. Rock and Mist just finished calibrating the species-specific overlays. Tom nodded, too nervous to speak. 6 months of work, his entire career, and the reputation of human cinema. Everything rode on the next 2 hours. Through a small gap in the curtain, He could see the theater filling up with even more aliens. Some had traveled from distant galaxies just to witness this event. The house lights dimmed. Tom took his seat next to Blue in the special observation booth. From here, they could monitor how each species was experiencing the film. The screen lit up, and Echo Among the Stars began. Pioneer, their lonely space probe, appeared against the backdrop of stars. The empathy overlay activated, customizing the experience for each alien in the audience. For crystalline beings, Pioneer's solitude appeared as subtle fracture patterns. For gaseous entities, it manifested as gentle pressure waves. Each species received the story in a way that spoke to their natural emotional language. As Pioneer encountered its first friend, a comet on an endless loop around a dying star, the audience began to respond. Tom watched in amazement as alien bodies shifted and changed in ways he had learned meant emotional engagement. A group of silicon-based creatures started resonating in harmony with the scene's feelings. Gaseous beings swirled with new patterns of color. The story continued as Pioneer learned about connection and loss. Each time the probe had to say goodbye to a new friend, the emotional resonance chambers filled with different species' versions of sadness. A crystalline critic's surface began to fog, their species' equivalent of tears. Then came the moment they had all been waiting for. Pioneer, after centuries of wandering, finally found its way back to Earth. But Earth had changed. Humans had evolved and left the planet. Pioneer was truly alone, carrying centuries of memories with nowhere to share them. Tom held his breath as he watched Director Vale. The alien critics sat perfectly still, their silver skin beginning to ripple in an unfamiliar way. As Pioneer played back its recordings of all the friends it had made and lost, Vale's outer layer started to shimmer with moisture, something their species only did in moments of overwhelming emotion. The final scene showed Pioneer making one last choice. Instead of remaining in Earth's orbit, it turned back to the stars, carrying humanity's capacity for love and friendship into the endless universe. As the screen faded to black, the theater filled with sounds Tom had never heard before. The collective emotional response of 50 different species, all feeling the same thing in their own unique ways. The lights came up slowly. Director Vale stood, their silver skin still shimmering with emotion. The entire audience waited for their reaction. Vale turned to face the crowd, then did something unprecedented. They activated their public emotional display, allowing everyone to see the complex patterns of feeling flowing across their skin. Vale's voice wavered. I believe I owe Mr. Reed an apology. The theater erupted in a chorus of alien sounds. Cheers and celebrations in 50 different forms. Blue's heartlights blazed with joy, creating a light show of happiness. Rock and Mist emerged from their control stations, their forms practically glowing with pride. Tom sat quietly in his booth, wiping away his own tears. They had done more than win a bet or prove a point. They had shown the galaxy that emotions weren't a weakness to be hidden or a primitive response to be overcome. They were bridges between stars, between species, between hearts. As the audience continued to react, news of the film's success was already spreading across the galaxy at light speed. 3 days after the premiere of Echo Among the Stars, the Galactic Entertainment District was completely transformed. Lines of aliens stretched around entire space stations, all waiting to experience the film that had made Director Vale cry. Street vendors sold unofficial Pioneer merchandise, everything from crystalline models to gaseous emotion capsules that mimicked the probe's loneliness. Tom sat in his favorite observation spot on the station's quiet side, watching the 3 suns set. Blue found him there, their heartlights glowing with excited colors. Tom, you won't believe what's happening. Blue waved a data tablet. The film has been translated into 500 alien languages. Even the hive clusters want to see it, and they don't even have individual emotions. Before Tom could respond, his communication device buzzed. Another message from Director Vale appeared. The Stellar Arts Academy requests your presence. Immediately, Tom and Blue exchanged worried looks. Despite the film's success, the Academy still held enormous power in the entertainment world. They could easily ban the emotional resonance technology or restrict human films again. The Academy's meeting chamber looked different from Tom's last visit. The harsh lights had been softened, and the rigid seating arrangement had been replaced with a more comfortable circular pattern. Director Vale stood in the center, their silver skin now decorated with patterns that Tom recognized as emotional expressions, something that would have been considered highly inappropriate just a week ago. "Mr. Reed," Vale began, their voice carrying a new warmth. "Your film has created quite a problem for us." Tom tensed, but Vale continued with an unexpected smile. "We have received 10,000 applications for human film studies in the past 2 days. Every major entertainment company in the galaxy wants to license your emotional resonance technology. And most troublingly," Vale's skin rippled with amusement, "I find myself wanting to watch more human films." The chamber filled with gentle sounds of alien laughter. Other Academy members showed their own signs of emotion, something that would have been unthinkable before. But most importantly, Vale said, "We have learned something valuable about ourselves. In trying to perfect our art through pure technical excellence, we had forgotten its true purpose: to connect, to share experiences, to understand each other better." Blue's heartlights pulsed with joy as Vale continued. "Therefore, the Academy has made 2 decisions. First, we are officially changing the classification of human cinema from Category 4 to Category 1, the highest level of artistic achievement." Approving sounds filled the chamber. Vale raised their hand for silence. "Second, we would like to offer you, Mr. Reed, a position as the head of our new department of emotional storytelling." Tom stood speechless. Blue nudged him gently, their heartlights flickering with encouragement. "Thank you," Tom finally said. "But I have a better idea. Instead of just me, why don't we create something bigger? A place where humans and aliens can learn from each other, where we combine your technical excellence with our emotional storytelling." Vale's skin shimmered with interest. "What do you propose?" "A new kind of film school," Tom explained, warming to the idea, "where every species can teach their own way of expressing feelings, where we can create stories that truly speak to everyone in the galaxy." The chamber erupted in excited discussion. Ideas flew back and forth. Course proposals, technology sharing, cultural exchange programs. Even the most traditional Academy members joined in, their formal facades falling away as they imagined the possibilities. As the excitement built around them, Blue turned to Tom with glowing heartlights. "You know what this means? We didn't just change how aliens see human films. We changed how everyone sees themselves." Tom watched the room full of aliens openly sharing their emotions and ideas. Pioneer's journey through space had done more than entertain. It had reminded an entire galaxy how to feel. Above them, on the massive screens that once mocked human cinema, Pioneer soared through the stars again, no longer alone in its journey of connection and discovery. 1 year after Echo Among the Stars premiered, the Galactic Entertainment District looked nothing like its old self. The once sterile halls now pulsed with color and life. Where mathematical precision once ruled, emotion flowed freely. And at the heart of it all stood the newly built Human Alien Film Academy, its crystal spires reaching toward the stars. Tom walked through the Academy's main hall, smiling at the sight of different species working together. In one classroom, a gaseous beam taught others how to express joy through color patterns. In another, a human instructor helped silicon-based students understand the concept of character development. Blue, now the Academy's head of emotional technology, rushed up to Tom with blazing heartlights. "The results are in. Our first graduating class's films have been rated the highest in galactic entertainment history." Tom grinned. "How's the new emotional resonance system working?" "Better than ever," Blue replied. "The students have added 30 new emotional frequencies we never even knew existed. Did you know crystalline beings have a specific feeling for starlight reflecting through their bodies? We've added it to the next version of the overlay." Their conversation was interrupted by a familiar silver shimmer. Director Vale approached, their skin displaying a complex pattern of emotions, something that had become their trademark over the past year. Tom, Blue, Vale nodded warmly. The Galactic Awards ceremony begins in an hour. Are you ready? As they walked to the ceremonial hall, Tom remembered the day he had first challenged Vale to cry. It felt like a lifetime ago. Now, Vale was one of the strongest supporters of emotional storytelling in the galaxy. The ceremony hall was packed with beings from every corner of space. Thousands more watched through emotional resonance channels, each experiencing the event in their own unique way. Tom sat between Blue and Vale in the front row, watching as film after film showed how far they'd come. A young Silicon student presented a story about a crystal learning to sing. A gaseous director premiered a film about pressure patterns falling in love. Each story was unique to its creator's species, yet somehow universal in its ability to touch hearts across the galaxy. Finally, Vale stood to give the closing speech. Their silver skin rippled with a rainbow of emotions as they faced the audience. 1 year ago, I thought I understood art. Vale began. I believed in perfection, in pure technical excellence. Then a human taught me that true art isn't about perfection, it's about connection. The audience responded with their species' various signs of agreement. Vale continued, their voice carrying across the hall. Pioneer's journey through space became our journey through emotions. But the real revolution wasn't just in how we make entertainment. It was in how we see ourselves and each other. Vale gestured to the students in the audience. Look around you. Every being here has a story to tell, emotions to share. Thanks to what we learned from humans, we now have countless new ways to understand each other. Our technical excellence combined with their emotional depth has created something greater than either could achieve alone. Tom felt Blue's heartlights pulsing with pride beside him. On his other side, Vale's skin shimmered with joy. And so, Vale concluded, it gives me great pleasure to announce that the Stellar Arts Academy is officially changing its name. From today forward, we will be known as the United Galactic Arts and Emotions Academy. The hall erupted in celebration, a symphony of different species expressing joy in their own unique ways. As Tom watched, he saw Pioneer's spirit in every face, every crystal, every swirl of gas. The Lonely Probe's journey had become everyone's journey, teaching the galaxy that no one needed to be alone with their feelings anymore. Above the celebration, on the huge screen that once mocked human films, Pioneer soared through an endless field of stars. But now, thousands of other lights soared with it, each one carrying a story, each one connecting hearts across the vast expanse of space. The revolution wasn't just about making aliens cry. It was about helping every being in the galaxy remember that they could feel, that they should feel, and that sharing those feelings made the universe a little less lonely for everyone.